The melee class in Terraria comprises of using a massive variety of swords, yo-yos, flails, and everything in between. The melee class grows in power a lot during their adventure, but what if we did something crazy and break the class completely? How's it going, crew? This is HappyDays, and today we're going to see how overpowered you can make the melee class in Terraria. Now before we get started, we need to explain exactly how this video is going to work. As the title of this video states, we're going to look at how overpowered you can make the melee class in Terraria, which means I'll only be looking at weapons with the melee damage type. As always, we'll be looking for the most overpowered melee weapons, armor, and accessories that are available at 5 major stages of the game. These stages are a brand new world before your first boss fight, just before the Wall of Flesh battle, the start of hard mode before your first boss, just before the golem battle, and finally post Moonlord victory with every item in the game available. In each section, I'll be farming, looting, and crafting the absolute best melee equipment available at that stage of the game. Also, by popular demand, I'll also represent the best melee weapons in each subcategory, including swords, spears, yo-yos, flails, and boomerangs. Tools such as pickaxes, axes, and hammers all deal melee damage and will be included in this challenge. I'll be focusing on getting the tools with the highest damage over harvesting power, as this series focuses on combat and not resource collection. Any buffs are allowed, such as potions, furniture, and set bonuses, as long as they're available in the stage of the game that we're exploring. As you all know, there are literally tons of melee weapon, armor, and accessory combinations in Terraria, so if during this video I suggest something that you do a bit differently, that's totally okay, so please share your ideas in the comments below. Finally, I won't be using any major glitches to obtain items earlier than you normally would be able to get them in the spirit of this challenge. We are simply looking to overpower our character using all the items available to us at each stage of the game. With that said, let's get this crazy challenge started. As we enter our new world, we start destroying the forest while the guard goes to find some slimes to attack. I'm excited because there's tons of powering up opportunities available to us straight away, but before that we need to get our first weapon. Did you know that you can keep crafting wooden broadswords until you get a good modifier on it? I keep crafting them until I get the legendary modifier for an early damage boost. Then the most generous slime in the world not only drops 2 gold coins, but the slime staff. I cried deeply inside that this is not the OP summoner video and keep chopping trees. I also get some houses built, as I'll need to get the merchant NPC early on, as they sell many useful items for a warrior, including the pig for more inventory space and a bug net for some upgrades that I'll show you soon. The next morning I start exploring the world for enchanted sword shrines. I'm playing on a medium-sized world in normal mode, which means there are 3 sword shrines somewhere near the surface in our world. The first shrine is a dud, but I see a real sword in the second shrine, and we pick up an enchanted sword which has a 90% chance to drop from real shrines. I'm getting nervous as we approach the last shrine, and I'm in shock as I smash the shrine and see the word ACCESSORY flash on screen. With some OP early weapons, it's time to go exploring. After making some torches, I head underground to start looting. Our first major goals are to max out our health and get our hands on plenty of movement accessories such as bottles for jumping, some boots, and the materials for a grappling hook. With the ACCESSORY on our enchanted sword, I'm having so much fun smashing my way through the underground and collecting tons of loot to sell, which will surely help with all the reforging costs we'll have in this challenge. Next we explore the jungle, as there's several upgrades available to us here too. I search for ivy chests, as they can contain this feral claws accessory which boosts our melee speed by 12%. I also collect jungle materials like spores and vines, as there's several weapons I can make from them. With our health maxed out and plenty of loot, it's time to get some upgrades. Back at base, I purchase a pig for extra inventory space and a bug net for some upgrades we'll be getting very soon. Using the materials gathered from the jungle, I craft an Amazon yo-yo, the blade of grass, and a thorn chakram for some nice upgrades, as well as an ivy whip. I also craft a reinforced fishing rod and some random pieces of armor with whatever bars I have to spare to give us a little boost to our defense. With our crafting complete, it's time for our next major upgrades. After building a little hut by the ocean, I start to fish like crazy. I'll need to mine hellstone for our next set of upgrades, so the only way to do that before fighting a boss is to catch a REAVER shark. I can't believe it, because it's not long after we start fishing I notice that we catch a swordfish, which is the best spear I can get my hands on at this stage of the challenge. Our amazing luck continues, as a little later that day we catch the REAVER shark. With our fishing adventure completed much quicker than expected, it's time to prepare for the underworld. After farming some goblin scouts, I summon the goblin army. It's always best to do this as soon as possible to increase your chances of bumping into the Goblin Tinkerer underground without having to actively search for him. With the goblins defeated, I start to dig a elevator to the underworld. Now that we have the Reaver Shark, I can mine up Hellstone ore, which unlocks our first major armor set as well as several weapon upgrades. I finally make it to the underworld and drink an obsidian skin potion and jump into the lava. I need about 300 Hellstone ore for all the crafting I'll be doing, so a trick I like to do is place one ore in my hotbar so I can keep track of how many I've collected. Soon enough, I've got all the ore I need and return to base to get crafting. A blood moon is underway upon my return, so I use this opportunity to farm for a shark tooth necklace. The extra 5 points of armor penetration from the necklace is really useful until even early hard mode. Thanks to the battle potion I found in the underworld, there's heaps of mobs, so I collect my prize in no time. The next morning, I convert all my Hellstone ore into bars and craft a set of molten armor, a molten hand axe, and a fiery greatsword. I can also upgrade my enchanted boomerang into a flamerang. There's still a few more upgrades to collect, so I sort out my inventory and head back underground. Heading back underground, I have 3 goals to complete before the next stage can begin. First, we search for the Goblin Tinkerer to purchase a Tinkerer's Workshop and rocket boots. I also throw a few quick upgrades on some weapons, but I'll max them out properly later on. Using a bat statue I found while looting, I place it near an existing trap and start farming cave bats. Cave bats can drop the chain knives, which is the best flail at this stage of the game in our Crimson world. Hundreds of cave bats later, the chain knife finally drops and I can hear the skeleton merchant fighting underneath me. It must have spawned while I was fighting all the bats. After digging my way down to him, I happily purchase a counterweight accessory. This gives my yo-yo a secondary attack, greatly improving its damage potential and crowd control capabilities. I'll also do a quick bit of fishing before returning to base. Thankfully, the melee class only needs a few basic fish to make all of their main buffs. Although my molten ham axe is the strongest axe available at the moment, the rockfish does more damage as a hammer, so I make sure to catch one of those too. I'll put an image on screen with all the relevant melee combat buff potions available at this stage of the game and what fish they need. Upon returning to base, I see that the traveling merchant is there, so I buy some sake from him, which gives me an extra 10% melee speed and damage and a little bonus to critical strike. I then craft the white string accessory, which I'll use to make the yo-yo bag in hard mode. Next, I sell some hellstone bars I went and mined earlier for some extra cash for reforging. I also craft some endurance, rage, and heart reach potions to go with my iron skin, regeneration, and swiftness buffs. I combine all of my boot accessories together to make the Frostspark boots and then visit the Goblin Tinkerer to reforge all of my equipment. I'll need to mine more Hellstone ore to sell, but there's tons of it, so I'll have everything reforged in no time. I make a quick trip through the jungle to locate a sharpening station. These spawn in jungle cabins, and when used, give an extra 4 armor penetration to melee weapons, which is a massive boost at this stage of the game. This first stage had a lot of power-ups for our character, and here's what I managed to achieve for the melee class in pre-hard mode without fighting a single boss. We have the Fiery Greatsword, Flamerang, Amazon, Chain Knife, Swordfish, and Arcalis, as well as the Reaver Shark, Molten Ham Axe, Clubfish, and a full set of molten armor. For accessories, we got the Feral Claws, Counterweight, and White String, as well as the Shark Tooth Necklace and some nice movement accessories. It's time to start stage 2, and that means we can start fighting bosses up to the Wall of Flesh battle. I start by summoning a few Eyes of Cthulhu, as I'll need the Crimtane ore it drops to craft the Blood Butcherer sword. I had a few extra eyes from all the looting I did earlier, so I used them all to get some extra loot to sell as well. After setting a spawn point near a beehive, I break the lava and summon the Queen Bee. I'd like to pick up the Beekeeper sword as it's a really useful weapon even until early hard mode, but the main reason is to allow the Witch Doctor to spawn. The Witch Doctor sells the imbuing station, which allows me to make melee only flasks to give all my melee weapons the ability to inflict debuffs. I spend some extra time farming Queen Bee to give me plenty of gold for reforging before moving on with our challenge. The boss rush continues as I make my way to the dungeon to take on Skeletron. Our Beekeeper and Amazon help deal with the rapidly swinging hands, while our Arcalis is perfect to use during its spin attack. The fight doesn't last long, and soon enough Skeletron falls and we make our way into the dungeon. I have several goals in the dungeon. First, I'll need to locate the Shadow Key, as there's several weapons in the Underworld Shadow Chest that I definitely want to get my hands on. I'll also need to find a Muramasa, as it's one of the last swords I need to combine into a powerful sword that I'll craft very soon. It takes a while to find everything, but after collecting plenty of loot, I head back to base. After sorting all my loot, I craft a Blood Butcherer and add it to my collection, including the Blade of Grass, Fiery Greatsword, and Muramasa. I also purchase an imbuing station off the Witch Doctor and place it near my potion farm. The flasks available at the moment are Fire and Poison. I decide to go with Fire as it deals more damage than Poison and most enemies are vulnerable to it. Next, I head to the Crimson and use an altar to combine all of my swords into the Knight's Edge. This weapon can be even further upgraded in hard mode, so surely it will come in and useful. I take my shadow key and start looting the underworld shadow chest. There are 2 upgrades available to us, which are the Sun Fury and Darklands, which are the best flail and spear respectively at this stage of the game. After a bit of searching, I managed to find both weapons to add to my collection, but there's still 1 weapon to go. The Cascade Yo-Yo has a 1 in 400 chance from dropping from any enemy in the underworld. It's only available after Skeleton, but before the Wall of Flesh. A trick I'm going to use is to set up a simple lava trap with a few mob statues I've looted and just relax while I wait for a cascade to drop, which it does almost instantly. With all the weapons collected, it's time for some last minute upgrades before hard mode. Back at base, I forge the extra hellstone I mined into bars to sell for reforging money. Then I grab my extra potions I need before upgrading my cobalt shield into an obsidian shield. Then I visit the goblin tinkerer to reforge all my new weapons and equipment to the best modifiers possible, which is legendary or godly for most melee weapons. This stage was really quick, but we got some significant upgrades with our Sun Fury, Cascade, Night's Edge and Darklands. We also crafted an obsidian shield to help with knockback and unlocked flasks from the witch doctor. After building a short runway, I hurl the guide voodoo doll into the lava and start stage 3. Our Night's Edge, Beekeeper and Sun Fury help deal with the hordes of hungry, while my Darklands, Arcalis and Cascade deal decent damage to the wall's eyes. With all our buffs and decent defense score, I can worry less about dodging and keep my weapons focused on the wall, and soon enough the giant fleshy beast falls and we're ready to start powering up in hard mode. We've got tons of upgrades available to us, but a lot of them involve fighting hard mode mobs, so I start by fishing up some prismite in the Hallow to make life force potions for a decent boost to my hit points. Next I travel to the Crimson and start smashing altars to bless our world with hard mode ores. I notice we get titanium ore, and the shadow dodge ability from the armor set is sure to be useful in our upcoming battles. After grabbing some spelunker and mining potions, I head underground to start mining ores. I only get enough ore to upgrade to the next tier of pickaxe, as I want to mine titanium ore as quickly as possible. Once I have a mithril pickaxe, I start the long process of farming titanium ore. I'll need about 500 titanium ore for all the upgrades available, and a good trick for finding it is to check the ceiling of the underworld, where you can find large patches of it very quickly. Back at base, I turn my Hellforge into a titanium forge and then convert all my ore into bars. I craft a set of titanium armor, a titanium war axe and a titanium pickaxe, as well as a few gold crowns for a farming trick I'm about to use. I head to the snow biome after turning my gold crowns into slime crowns and summon King Slime to farm for the Amarok. The Amarok has a 1 in 300 chance to drop from any enemy killed in a snow biome, so King Slime is perfect as it spawns multiple slimes during the battle. The Amarok drops on our first slime crown, which is fantastic as I can now use the other crowns to farm even more items. I'll need some more mobility before tackling the hard mode mobs underground, so I head to the jungle and purchase some leaf wings from the witch doctor. Next I need to collect some souls of light and night, so I start with the underground Hallow. I can use the same King Slime trick, as all the slimes it spawns can drop the souls I need. As I make my way to the underground Crimson, I bump into the skeleton merchant. I quickly purchase the yo-yo glove from him, which will allow me to craft the yo-yo bag accessory at the tinkerer's workshop. I take my time farming souls of night from the mobs in this area, and thankfully the spawn rate isn't too high, so I can easily manage them. I can also farm for ichor from the enemies that spawn there. This will allow me to upgrade my flask to inflict the ichor debuff to enemies for a whopping 20 defense reduction. Back at base, I craft a few keys of night and then make some ichor flasks to boost my damage. I upgrade my yo-yo glove, white string and counterweight into the yo-yo bag to make our yo-yo smash enemies to pieces. After placing some chests nearby, I start to summon crimson mimics to farm for the fetid bagnats. The combination of our wings, yo-yo bag, ichor and amarok allow me to quickly farm mimics, and we get our prize on the second mimic. I decide to test out our new weapon, and it absolutely shreds the last 3 mimics, which is tons of fun and gives me more loot to sell. After drinking a battle potion, I head underground to collect a few more power-ups. I start by hunting for mimics with the help of my lifeform analyzer. I end up opening a huge area to help farm for them, and 3,000 mimics later, I finally get the glove. Next, I throw another guide doll into the lava to summon the Wall of Flesh. We'll need several emblems in this challenge, such as the warrior emblem for a 15% damage boost, as well as another random emblem to go towards crafting the mechanical glove. Back on the surface, I need to battle a few events quickly. I start with the goblins to fight the hard mode goblin summoners. Goblin summoners can drop the shadow flame knife, which is a rapid auto-firing weapon that inflicts the shadow burn debuff. Then, when the next blood moon spawns, I'm searching for the hard mode only clown enemies. Clowns have a small chance to drop banana rings, which is a boomerang that can can stack up to 10 times. I'm putting a quick disclaimer here that clowns are very rare, and it took me 3 hours to get a single banana ring. So for the purpose of this video not taking 5 years to make, we're going to pretend I farmed all 10 of them. Thank you. After farming all 10 banana rings, I head to the desert where I purposely spread the Hallow and Crimson earlier to farm light and dark mummies. I need 1 light and dark shard to upgrade our Sun Fury to the Tao of Power. Next we are going on a quest for the Obsidian Swordfish. The Obsidian Swordfish can actually be caught by fishing in lava, but the catch is you only can use the hotline fishing hook to get it. To get the hotline fishing hook, you first need to complete 25 fishing quests and be in hard mode. After that, the angler has a chance to give it to you as a fishing reward, so I recommend you start fishing early if you want this weapon. Back at base, I craft the Tao of Power and then get the Power Glove at the Tinkerer's Workshop before visiting the Tinker to reforge our equipment to the max. This stage had tons of upgrades for our warrior, which should help us tear through the upcoming bosses. We have the Fetid Bagnats, Amarok, Tao of Power, Shadow Flame Knives, Obsidian Swordfish, and a full stack of banana rings. We picked up a full set of titanium armor, as well as a warrior emblem, yo-yo bag, and Power Glove accessories, all reforged with a menacing modifier. We're up to stage 4 and that means boss time. I set up a basic truffle farm in advance so I can quickly grab a bunch of truffle worms as we're going straight for Duke Fishron. After making a spawn point at the ocean, I cast my line and summon the giant fish. Fishron drops the Flairon, which is a massively powerful flail, and the Fishron wings are always useful for the pillar events. The strategy I'm using to keep Fishron at bay is using the Amarok, Shadow Flame Knives, and banana rings so I can concentrate on dodging. Thankfully, Fishron is vulnerable to Ichor, so our Ichor flasks allow me to remove a massive 20 points of Fishron's defense score. I still only have the leaf wings, so we move quite slowly horizontally, but a good trick is to place a line of platforms vertically to help you grapple out of the way as necessary. The heart statue we found earlier is helping a lot too. It's a long fight, but eventually Fishron falls, and to my absolute amazement, the Flairon falls on the first try. I'm so excited because this will make farming a few more Fishrons for wings fairly easy due to the bubbles that the Flairon spawns. I spent the day farming Fishron to try and get the wings, but no luck unfortunately. To be fair, however, I won't be using wings in our endgame build, so it's okay. After reforging my Flairon, I start fighting the mech bosses. I decide just to tank the destroyer and tear it to pieces with the Fetid Bagnats, which will take it down quite quickly. The twins and Skeletron Prime are both vulnerable to Ichor, so my Flairon can deal even more damage to them. Skeletron Prime takes a while to beat as it flies around so quickly, but the homing bubbles of the Flairon help out a lot. After the battle, I notice it's a full moon, which is an excellent time to farm for werewolves. Werewolves drop the moon charm, which I'll need to craft the celestial shell later. There's tons of werewolves here, so it doesn't take long to get our prize. Back at base, it's time for some upgrades. I craft a pickaxe, axe, and a set of hallowed armor. I also craft 2 Avenger emblems using the emblems we farmed earlier, and then combine one with our power glove to make the mechanical glove. Next, I go exploring in the jungle for a PLANTERA bulb. Usually I make a big arena for it, but instead I just set up a campfire, some honey, and a heart lantern for a trick I'm about to use. PLANTERA tends to hover over the player, so I simply grapple to the ground and tear it to pieces with the Fetid Bagnats. My health gets a bit low during the fight, but it's over fairly quickly due to our insane damage. There's a lot of tough mobs coming up, so I decide to upgrade my armor and health now by mining up some chlorophyte ore and grabbing some life fruit to max out my health. I need over 500 chlorophyte ore for everything I need to craft, but I don't mind as life fruit generally takes a while to find and it's quite spread out around the jungle. Back at base, I turn my chlorophyte ore into bars and craft a set of turtle armor and a chlorophyte mask. If you didn't know, if you wear the chlorophyte mask with hallowed greaves and the turtle scale mail, you get an extra 17% damage and 2% critical strike at the cost of losing the set bonus. With our upgraded armor and health, I head to the dungeon to farm paladins. Paladins are a rare enemy that drop the paladin's hammer. The paladin's hammer is currently the strongest boomerang in the game. I like to just spend the time farming, hollowing out a large area, which makes it a lot easier to spawn enemies, and soon enough the hammer is mine. A solar eclipse spawns naturally, so I make my way to my arena and start farming all the mobs. I need tons of items from this event, including 2 broken hero swords, the Eye of Cthulhu yo-yo, 2 moonstones, a Neptune shell, and the butcher's chainsaw. Also, if you're wondering why I've placed 2 large rectangles of crimson blocks, it's because I've created an artificial crimson biome in this area to give the eclipse mobs a chance to drop the crimson key, which they actually do. The paladin's hammer is amazing for smashing the eclipse mobs, and soon enough I have everything I need. We've almost finished this stage, but we have a few loose ends to tie off. First I visit the truffle in his house I prepared earlier. I buy an auto hammer as we'll be crafting something out of shroomite very soon. Next I swing past the dungeon with my crimson key to pick up the vampire knives to give our character the power of lifesteal. I return to the jungle and smash another Plantera bulb. Plantera has a rare drop called the Axe. The Axe is actually a ham axe and it's the best hammer available at this stage of the game. It takes me a few tries, but eventually the Axe drops and it's time for some upgrades. Back at base, I place the auto hammer and convert some CHLOROPHYTE bars into shroomite bars. I then upgrade our Knight's Edge to a true Knight's Edge, craft the Excalibur and upgrade that to a true Excalibur, and then combine both to the Terra Blade. I also make a set of shroomite digging claws and a naughty present as we have one last item to get in this stage. After making some warmth potions, I summon the Frost Moon and start blasting through the waves. The Ice Queen appears on wave 11 onwards and drops the North Pole, which is the strongest spear currently in the game. Unfortunately, I don't manage to get the North Pole on the first night, but I try again the second night and I see our prize drop as the Ice Queen is defeated. The next day at the Tinkerer's Workshop, I craft an Unk Charm and upgrade it to an Unk Shield, and then all that's left is to reforge our equipment to their best modifiers and move on to the last stage. I was totally surprised by how many upgrades were available to us in this stage of the game. We upgraded to the Terra Blade, Vampire Knives, Flare-On, Paladin's Hammer, Eye of Cthulhu Yo-Yo, and North Pole. Our new tools are the Axe, the Butcher's Chainsaw, and the Shroomite Digging Claws. Our armor is a bit of a mixed bag with the Chlorophyte Mask, Turtle Scale Mail, and Hallowed Greaves, but it gives us massive bonus damage. Finally, we grabbed an Avenger Emblem, Unk Shield, and Mechanical Glove. We start the endgame by busting our way into the temple and looting everything along our way. Our weapons are decimating the lizards inside as our character is really getting OP now. I discover the Golem chamber is huge and it's only going to need some basic setup to be a suitable arena for our battles. I have fun testing all our weapons on Golem and most of them do really well at quickly destroying the arms. I'm glad the fight goes fairly quickly and easily as we need quite a few items from Golem, so I will likely need to farm him a lot. The items I need from Golem are the Golem Fist, Golem's Eye, Beetle Husk, and 2 Sunstones. I managed to get everything except for one of the Sunstones, so I'll farm for some more cells before returning to base. After collecting the last Sunstone, I return to base and craft the Scale Beetle Armor, which can boost our melee damage and speed up to 30%, which is insane. At the Tinkerer's Workshop, I craft 2 Celestial Stones and a Moon Shell and then upgrade one of them to the Celestial Shell. Lastly, I upgrade my Avenger Emblem to a Destroyer Emblem before reforging my equipment as we're about to fight the Lunatic Cultist. We blast the Cultist out of the way as the Lunatic Cultist prepares for battle. The attack speed buff from our Beetle Armor is insane as the Terra Blade feels like it's on overdrive. I swap to my Vampire Knives when I need to heal, and thanks to our speed boost, we heal up to max in no time at all. After trying out all of our different weapons on the Cultist, it eventually falls and we make our way for the Solar Pillar. The Solar Pillar enemies are tough as always, but our Possessed Hatchet's homing ability allows me to keep our distance. I have to be careful as the Selenian enemies can reflect my projectiles back at me, especially when I'm trying to heal with the Vampire Knives. After a while though, the shield falls and I attack the pillar. As it goes down, I collect the fragments and I think I've got enough for both the celestial weapons. Back at base, I go to the Ancient Manipulator and craft the Solar Eruption. I didn't think I had enough, but I realized I can also craft the Daybreak as well, so I happily craft that too. Next, I'll take down 2 more pillars before setting up my Moonlord arena. I decide to target the Nebula and Vortex pillars and leave the Stardust pillar for last. I'm enjoying using the new Solar Eruption and Daybreak. The Solar Eruption is a fantastic weapon for the pillars as it cleaves through hordes of enemies at once. It takes a while, but once the shield falls on the 3rd pillar, I quickly take it out and it's time to prepare our Moonlord arena. I found a few heart statues in this challenge, so I'm going to try a turtling strategy where I don't move at all against the Moonlord and just hope we can beat him before he beats us. I build a square-shaped arena and place glass walls down so we can see the Moonlord behind it. To help with more regen, I place a Heart Lantern and Campfire too. I zoom out for the last pillar as we'll be facing the Moonlord directly after. Once the shield falls, I quickly tear it down and grab the fragments before teleporting back to our arena. I refresh my buffs and wait for the Moonlord. The strategy here is to slowly weaken all 3 eyes at once while I'm reasonably safe inside my spawn box. Most of the laser attacks can't go through blocks, which means all my regen items are keeping my health fairly topped up. As the core opens, however, I start taking heavier damage as all 3 true Eyes of Cthulhu start unleashing phantasmal spheres. Thankfully, the core doesn't move around much, so I can keep damage piling right into it until finally the Moonlord is defeated. The battle went okay, and I felt we were dealing damage quick enough to not be in danger of dying, but I think if we're truly going to call our warrior OP, we're going to need to absolutely destroy the Moonlord a lot faster. So, just how OP can you make the melee class in Terraria? I spent some time grinding the pillars and the Moonlord to find out. After running through the pillars several times, I now have a full set of solar flare armor, a legendary Meowmere Star Wrath, as well as a godly Terrarian. Our final accessories are the Celestial Stone, Celestial Shell, Destroyer and Warrior emblems, and either the Mechanical Glove or Yo-Yo Bag, depending if you use the Terrarian or not. I use the same turtle strategy as before and move the Terrarian between the Moonlord's eyes, making sure to focus on the forward eye when it opens up. I open the 2 hand eyes early before the forward eye opens again for maximum speed, and once the core opens, I focus the Terrarian on it to quickly mow it down. The Terrarian at max power absolutely destroys the Moonlord, and it doesn't stand a chance against our overpowered melee character. Soon enough, the Moonlord is exploding and our challenge is complete. This was so much fun to max out our character at each stage of the game. We've only got the Summoner left out of the original 4 classes, and we'll look at that with all the added Terraria 1.4 Summoner content. Also, if you have any other ideas for equipment builds at the various stages in this video, please let me know in the comments below. I had an absolute blast making this video, and if you enjoyed it too, please smash the like button and consider subscribing for more fun videos like this. And here's the most important part as always, you'll stay happy and I'll see you soon. This is HappyDays signing out. See ya!